They say every journey changes the person who travels it, but what if a journey could change the very land itself, leaving a mark that would last forever? That's the real legacy of the Oregon Trail. The sheer volume of human ambition that passed through this corner of Wyoming left an impression so deep you can still reach out and touch it. On this leg of our journey, we're exploring 3 distinct permanent imprints left by the Great Migration. First up is the historic Army Bridge, a structure that represents the final, inescapable political mark of a nation claiming its future. Then we'll check out the Guernsey Ruts, a powerful, often missed landmark. And last but not least, the Register Cliff, where travelers left their names as their indelible record. We begin at the bridge, where a single sign reveals the tragic history behind this structure and why it is truly called the end of an era. This magnificent piece of engineering is the historic Army Iron Truss Bridge on the grounds of Fort Laramie. Before this bridge was built in 1875, crossing the river was treacherous and often deadly. Pioneers journaled that it was a dreaded obstacle on the Oregon and Mormon trails. As you can see, the river today is only a shadow of its former self. A large portion of this bridge now spans dry, cracked ground. Back in the pioneer days, the North Platte was a mighty barrier, often described as being a mile wide, treacherous, and chaotic. Now, upstream reservoirs and irrigation have tamed it, leaving this stark, indelible mark of human development. But the Army didn't build this $75,000 bridge just to assist immigrants. Its primary purpose served as a logistical and military tool to secure a safer supply route for Indian agencies, following the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. This treaty recognized the Great Sioux Reservation and the Black Hills as Sioux territory. The engineering design of the bridge is a 3-span bowstring through truss, assembled from prefabricated parts by the King Iron Bridge Company. This was pretty unique for its time. Even more unique are the large icebreakers constructed in front of the piers. They were clever solutions to protect the relatively delicate footings from the crushing force of the North Platte's spring ice flows. To withstand the force of the ice, these breakers were built using timber cribs, which were then filled with earth and rubble to create a durable, wedge-shaped protective barrier. But it's the scale and intention behind this structure that reveals the complete story. This meticulous planning and construction of the bridge was aimed to secure supply lines that were essential for upholding the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. Under this treaty, tribes ceded lands in exchange for annual provisions like food, blankets, and tools. The Army's original plan was to use this bridge to manage the end of the frontier by securing the supply lines and holding the borders set by the Fort Laramie Treaty. But this plan was shattered with the discovery of gold in the Black Hills. Thousands of fortune seekers swarmed across this span and passed directly into the Great Sioux Reservation, violating the terms of the treaty. The bridge then became a crucial lifeline for the military, moving troops and supplies during the war that followed. What a poignant irony! The bridge that was built to secure peace ended up becoming a tool of war. Ultimately, the tragedy of the historic Army Bridge was greed. This proved to be a force strong enough to break treaties, shatter lives, and end an era. can't help but think that there is a lesson that this bridge is teaching me, and it's as relevant now as it was then. Time and again, the relentless push of economic desire, the sheer hunger for profit, becomes the real crisis. That's a hard truth, and one that keeps repeating itself on this trip. Not only is history never simple, it's also never easy. And this is evidenced by an event that occurred very close to our next stop, the Guernsey Ruts. I came to this site expecting a simple story of pioneers cutting ruts, but once again, I discover so much more. To the immigrants, the Oregon Trail was a way to a new life. The Army, on the other hand, called this their Great Platte River Road, a military route. To the troops at Fort Laramie, it was a line of duty to enforce treaties, guard the telegraph, and project the force of a growing nation. But the fragility of the peace, barely holding together under the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851, was revealed by a single infamous incident, one that began all because of a cow. In 1854, near Fort Laramie, a lame cow wandered from a settler's wagon train and was killed for food by a Sioux warrior. The local chief immediately offered a horse in restitution, but a young lieutenant insisted on a military arrest. That confrontation, known as the Grattan Massacre, ended with the deaths of 30 soldiers and the chief, shattering the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty and igniting the First Sioux War. The Army's attempt to police the trail inadvertently became the spark that set the entire northern plains ablaze. I find it striking that the death of one cow served as the pretext, a kind of historical scapegoat, if you will, to justify military retaliation and war. Even the term massacre is now being challenged by historians who prefer Grattan fight, arguing that massacre spins the narrative and overlooks the U.S. troops' role in the conflict. Regardless of what you call it, that deadly incident was another consequence of relentless westward expansion. Fort Laramie was the halfway point of my Oregon Trail road trip. I started the trip with guidebook in hand, but like all life lessons, there's so much more that can be learned outside of a book. I'm humbled by how little I understood about this time in history. It's like the land itself is telling a deeper story. The simple fact is, humans, whether they were Native American tribes, explorers, or immigrants, were just one part of this landscape. Look at this guy. He's just doing what beavers do. Fearless, focused, and utterly nonplussed by all the history written around him. He reminds me that nature doesn't care about our treaties or our conflicts. It's like peeling the layers of an onion, the multiple treaties, the military presence, the escalating conflict. It's all way more complex than I ever realized. The Guernsey Ruts are named for the nearby town, but when the immigrants passed, there was no town here. The geography at this location forced every single wagon to be funneled onto the same narrow strip of soft sandstone. Just look at what 500,000 people left behind. This place was a wow moment for me. As I walk along this rock, a physical scar worn down 4 to 5 feet deep in some places, I'm face to face with its witness, the sheer volume and momentum of so many hopeful immigrants. What a legacy of the unstoppable movement of westward expansion. It's a powerful and awe-inspiring sight to see this collective force of humanity etched so deeply into the earth. And as the sun sets, casting long shadows across the sandstone, the physical scar left by those wagons only deepens. I see my own shadow stretching out, walking directly in the path of the past. It's a humbling feeling to walk in the shadows of 500,000 lives, people who stood right here where I am now, facing an uncertain future. This rock wasn't just a hurdle they had to overcome. It became their permanent signature on the land. This gives new meaning to digging in your heels. But this need to leave a permanent mark led to a different kind of inscription just down the road at Register Cliff. This was a crucial resting place within a day's travel west of Fort Laramie, so tired pioneers set up camp in the shade of the cliff near the river and carved out a permanent record of their existence. But the pioneers weren't the first to rest here. Long before the Oregon Trail, fur traders and early explorers used this same soft rock, with some marks dating as far back as 1805. While thousands of names were originally carved into this sandstone, the elements have taken their toll, leaving only a few hundred legible today, a stark reminder of how quickly even the most determined marks can fade. Looking at all these carvings, seeing a name, a date, a place left here so long ago, it's a moving experience. I can't help but wonder about the person who stood here long ago, exhausted from the difficult journey, their heart full of both fear and hope. But for some, the story of their passage ends right here. Standing next to this small fenced-in pioneer cemetery, I see the true cost of that will and determination. For these pioneers, their names were carved not as a mark of passage, but as a final farewell. From the political mark of the bridge, to the collective marks of the ruts, to the personal inscriptions on the cliff, these places aren't just remnants of the past. They are a physical record of a powerful human story, a story of resilience, hope, and the courage to leave an indelible, lasting, enduring mark on the world. Next, we move beyond the pioneer era to explore the modern story, how a later generation, through the transformative work of the CCC, paved the way for the preservation of these lands and the history held within them. Thanks for watching, and happy trails.